Right guys, we've got another CANchecked to install today. This one is the same gauge that I've got in my Yaris that we did a video on a few months ago. I've got that all set up now, so we'll do a separate video of the little changes I've made to it. This one's going in our mate Andy's EP3. So we're just going to unbox it now, see what it comes with, and yeah, get on with fitting it. So we've got some nice stickers, obviously. Got quick start guides, the actual display itself with a couple of screen protectors as well. We've got the data cable, so that's how you upload anything, download anything to your laptop. You can pull the CSV files from data logs, things like that if you've been on track with it, or if you're just data logging on the road. Got little adapters here for the plugs, SD card adapter, because there's a micro SD already in the display. Then we've got this wiring loom. So the nice thing about the Yaris one was it was plug and play. This one is definitely not plug and play, but it shouldn't be too difficult, and there's good instructions for it, as well as there's instructions online as well. So should have everything that we need to get it fitted into the car. Right, here we have Andy's Turbo EP3, and as you can see, it's really nicely built, really nice, tidy, well thought out fabrication. We're going to be installing a CANchecked gauge into there today. So to make sure it all fits in nicely, we're going to be running the wiring so that you can't see any of it. We're going to try and keep it all nice and tidy so it matches the rest of the car. This car runs a Hondata Kpro V4, which is what you need to install one of these CANchecked gauges because it has the CAN network enabled on it. So the first thing we need to do is to remove the ECU and then take it inside, and we'll show you where to put the wires. So we've got the ECU out of Andy's EP3 now. It's a Hondata Kpro V4, and that's what you need to run these because it has the CAN bus enabled on this board here. So we've already switched that on via K-Manager. So the next thing to do is wire it up. So with your Kpro, you'll get like an additional sub harness like this, and that just plugs into this little daughter board inside the ECU. To wire up the CANchecked thing, you only need the 4 wires. You need a feed, which is the ignition switch live, 12 volts, a permanent ground, and then we just need the CAN high and CAN low, or CAN positive and CAN negative, depending on how you read it. And this is all wired in via the instructions here. So on the back of the CANchecked, we have plug A, plug B. So what we are wiring into here is we have A5, which is, they're all color coded, which is nice. A5, which is your 12 volt feed. A1, which is the ground, that's the black one. And then we have CAN high, which is the white lead here. Then we have CAN low, which is the yellow lead. And that's quite handy because if we go over to the Kpro sub harness here, CAN low is also on a yellow wire, so that's nice and easy to remember. You're not going to mess that up. So if we have a look at the Kpro daughter board, there's 2 things here. There's the analog input and there's the digital out here. So we're going to use this digital out, and if we look inside the pins there, just behind the pins, we can see that it has CAN H, CAN L, so CAN high and CAN low, and that's this blue and yellow wires here. So Kpro doesn't have a resistor in there to terminate the CAN bus, so we have to wire that in ourselves. So Fordy here has already wired that in for me. So basically what we're doing is if you can imagine it's set out like that, all we're doing is putting that resistor across like that, and that lets it terminate the messages that it's sending across. That's an essential bit. These come with the CANchecked gauge. You will need to use those, just one of them in like that. So we have already had a little dry run, we've tested this out, it does work. So the next thing to do, we plug this into the digital out on this side here, just like that. And then I'm not going to use any of these other wires, so I'm just going to leave these in here so that they're not getting kicked about or short circuited out anywhere. And then we can use this little gap down the side to run those out nice and neat and wire them into the gauge that way. So now that that's plugged in, the next thing that we're going to do is put the ECU back together, pop it in the car, and run the wires from the behind the glove box where the ECU is over to the driver's side vent where the gauge goes. and that's it. Job's a good one. Now that we've got the ECU back in the car, we've ran the wires from behind the glove box where the ECU is over to this side of the dash where the gauge is going. Now Andy's already popped this vent out for us. They're really easy to pop out. You just need a trim tool down each side and they just pop out the front of the dash there. There's loads of videos on how to do that because it's quite a common problem where these go loose, so we're not going to cover that. So we have these two connectors here. These go into the back of the CAN gauge, so on the back of the gauge there's some writing, that's the right way up, so up on this bit of text is up for the gauge. So we're going to pop that in, and if we start the car, it is quite loud, so hopefully you can still hear me. We can see the gauge starts nicely. Now this is a generic gauge, so it doesn't have the specific CAN network codes and formulas and everything that it needs, so currently it's going to read some strange readings until we get that programmed in properly. But on the second page we've got a rev gauge there. If I just give the throttle a blip, we can see that it's rising with the engine, so that's all working, and it's confirmed that we are getting a signal from the ECU. So that's it, that's all installed. So the only thing that we need to do now is program it for the specific car. Now that's going to be a bit of a long-winded thing to do. The best thing to do is either pop the SD card out and do it in the laptop like that, or use this supplied USB cable to do it. Now, because of the design of the EP3, you're going to need to pop the gauge out to plug this in, because otherwise this wire will hit the dash and you won't actually be able to get the gauge into the car. That's an EP3 problem, not a CANchecked problem. So maybe they'll supply like a right-angled micro SD, sorry, not micro SD, micro USB with future kits for the EP3 specific ones, but otherwise you just need to pop it out. It's really not a big deal. But we're going to let Andy program this exactly how he wants, with the inputs that he wants on the displays there, alarm sets, alarms set to what he wants it to be to, what he wants them to be to, etc, etc. The limits are endless really. We'll show you my GR Yaris. The screens that I've got on there, the opening screen is custom. I've got a few different GR logos here and there. Just shows you what you can do and the information that you feel relevant to be on the screen for you. So the last thing to do is just push it back in. Like I said, we're not going to do that because we're going to let Andy customize it first, and that's it. That's the install complete. So I'm here sat in my Yaris. I've had my CANchecked display in now for a month or two, and I've had a bit of a play with it and got it set up just the way that I wanted it. So if we turn it on now, the first thing that I've done is change the opening sort of display sequence to one with the GR logo on. And on this first page here, what I've got is just the oil temperature, that's the engine oil temperature, the rear diff clutch temperature, which is something you need to keep an eye on these, and the intake temperature coming in. So I can see if things are getting a little bit too hot, I'm going to need to start backing off, or maybe changing modes on the four-wheel drive system, stuff like that. And then I've also got a boost gauge here with a maximum displayed there, so I can see quickly, on a straight, quick look to the side, I can see what the peak boost I've achieved, what the oil temperature is, etc, etc. So also put a GR logo on there. If we go over to the second page, got a little performance meter, again popped a little logo on there, and yeah, so that monitors your 0 to 100 kilometers an hour time, so your 0 to 60 mile an hour time. Anytime you like, if you just leave it on there, it'll automatically do it as soon as it senses that you've started off from a standstill. And page 3, this is just a general logging page, so I've got things like lambda, I've got the ignition advance, stuff like that, as well as the not visible on the screen here, but I've got throttle input as well. So I can log these things, and then I can put them on to you know, like overlay them using a program like Race Render or something similar, and they can go on my YouTube videos of track days and stuff like that. So I just have these 3 pages on at the minute, but you can have up to 10, and you can have as many bits of information on there as you want, as you think you can see and make sense and make use of. So that's the beauty of it, really, just how much you can have a play and get it set up exactly as you want it. Now there is a bit of a learning curve to it. It's sometimes not the most straightforward, but the display software that comes with the CANchecked is really good, and believe me, if I can do it, anybody can do it. These GR logos were made to size just using Microsoft Paint, nothing special at all, and the startup animation was provided by a chap on the GR Zoo forum, so believe me, it is easy to do. So that's how much you can change it, and that's just scratching the surface of what these displays can do.